All right, welcome everyone. We are Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for My Hero Academia, Season 5, Episode 19. All right, we had a week-long break because of the Olympics.
Yep.
But, oh boy,
that little thing.
The previous episode that we had was just a cut above the rest this season. It was a really strong one.
And the development that it had for Endeavor and the choice that Endeavor made with regards to his family is excellent.
Amazing.
I'm so excited to see what happens next with all of that.
It's a really complicated situation, but having an answer that is a simple one,
but a tough one,
is not going to solve anything.
Right. And
it's just a good first step in a direction that doesn't involve you being a part of their lives.
Now or potentially ever.
Yeah. There's so many ways things can basically be opened up and changed from here on out. But because he's in some ways taking this step away, we'll get to maybe see a new side of the Todoroki family that we haven't seen before.
Yep.
Yeah. On the other side of things with the heroes and just the students as well, we have, of course, Hawk still doing his thing. We've got the boys who now have probably essentially completed their bit, you know.
Except, you know, with that whole stipulation of like Bakugo is only faster than, you know, Endeavor because Endeavor was like distracted and there was no deal with his son and whatnot. So, you know, maybe you still have a ways to go.
Yeah. And that's good. That's good for now.
Yep.
But Dabi still looms out there somewhere.
That's right.
And you know, not Toya, you know,
that whole thing.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But I would love to see things go back to the macro story. Love to see basically a little bit of a connection point into how the students are going to get involved in the grander storyline, since the stuff with the Meta Liberation Army has been sequestered off to Hawks' side of things with his whole intrigue plot.
And yet
so we could get more Hawks focus, we could get more student focus.
Because it does seem like the season will probably end with the Meta Liberation Army making their move. So I would like to see the ways in which it builds up to that. Yeah,
more directly. So yeah, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Well, that was, so.
We got two crazy things, but we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But this episode legitimately was just funny, too.
It was. It
like,
really was.
That first quarter of the episode or third of the episode was hilarious.
It was great. Yeah,
it was hilarious.
There were a lot of different jokes. They didn't. None of them overstayed their welcome. You know, like they kept them going at a clip pace and everything. And because MHA has such a big cast that there are times where it's like, all right, let's make sure that you remember all the characters and their quirks and things like that, because there are
There's a lot of them. Yeah,
there's a lot of them. But a lot of the times that can just seem like sort of just like filler screen time, where it's like, okay, we're getting everyone back up to speed, but I remember, you know, I don't need this, so it's like, what is there for me to get out of this, right? Yeah. But in this case, it's like, no, we're gonna have that, but we're also going to have some surprisingly actually really cool animation from Uraraka when she did the flips and all that stuff, but just have a bunch of jokes in there so that way it's like, there you go. You know, these characters just being funny.
We have our eggshell cracked for the rest of the episodes that we can absorb the serious stuff that's about to go down.
Exactly.
Then secondly, we use it as a tie-in to bring Aizawa into the focus here.
Right.
And we get to see a weird side of Present Mike in that he's really nervous for some reason. But all these little things with Uraraka and, you know, Ida basically showing, hey, they've grown up quite a bit. You know, Ida is taking charge and doing Aizawa's part. He's like, no, I got it all covered. I'm efficient. I'm doing everything. We're good.
And apparently he's been doing a lot of leg workouts.
or ass workouts.
Yeah, I mean, you know, upper leg workouts.
And then Uraraka having a cool kind of clear connection of, no, I'm not actually in love with Deku. I really respect and admire him, but I know that that's not a thing that's happening anytime soon. So I'm holding on to the hope that, you know, something good could happen eventually.
But kind of putting it out of her mind, right? And it only got
out of her mind.
Brought up when they then find the thing. And I gotta say, I really like that because Uraraka and Ida like when they were introduced at the very beginning of the show, I'm like, yeah, these are great characters. In season 2, they had a lot of really strong moments, really good stuff.
Especially for the two of them,
Yeah, specifically for the two of them, right?
Yeah.
But there are only so many times that I can hear Deku-kun before I start thinking Kurosaki-kun, and that's not a place that I want to be in.
Nope.
So I'm really glad that they ended up doing that for her, and given the fact that she's been getting a fair amount of focus in this season so far, compared to like a bunch of the other side characters, that makes me optimistic that we'll get a lot more from her moving forward in the show.
Yeah, because I think that once things go to shit, basically, Deku's probably going to need to have like a small squad when like chaos goes down, basically, and we get like Hero Civil War or something like that, like equivalent. Like, and Uraraka and Ida are like, of course, his go-tos. But if he can't be with them, they need to be able to hold their own in their specific, spheres.
Both combat-wise
and
but then
character-wise.
also character-wise, because if like. In any kind of wartime, right? Things are going to get chaotic and messy and things like that, and you won't necessarily all be together because, divide and conquer will be the main objective of the enemy, especially since with 100,000 strong, they're still probably outnumbered by just the whole society of everything, right?
Absolutely.
So if we get situations where then the class is split up into smaller chunks of people, where then we can have more focused development for them.
They can all be leaders in their specific areas.
Exactly. And then we can start forming also specific bonds between members of the class rather than it just being an amalgamation of a bunch of kids and they're, hanging out because they're in high school.
Right. And bonds extends not just to the students, but to the teachers.
Sure.
We now get like kind of the first real, I would say, elongated look into the whole Eraserhead Present Mike relationship dynamic. Before they were heroes, when they were students, there was a third member, and they don't talk about him because it's this uncomfortable truth that they had to go through, is that sometimes the whole hero society deal, even when maybe it wasn't wartime potentially, or it wasn't something where they were setting up the kids to be child soldiers or something like that, they die. And this was something where like we could tell at the very least that this Kurogiri, when he wasn't Kurogiri, he wasn't fully grown mature adult. He was like an old teenager, basically. Well, yeah, he's probably like 17 or something.
They mentioned that it was class 2A, so basically his second year of high school, so probably 16, and they're on their work study, and then suddenly accident happens, building collapses, and he's underneath.
Yeah, they were from class 2A. I didn't know if it was specifically that they did that after they graduated.
Because 2 is the year. So
yes, you're right. You're right. I'm with you. I don't know if that event happened when they were in 2.
If anything, with that whole like twist and everything, it would have hit harder for me if we had gotten like the whole thing of that guy existed beforehand, which I don't.
It didn't make sense, I would say, to bring it up. Really,
maybe not. But
I think what you're getting at is really good. Is that Kurogiri as a character was just kind of this. He really had nothing attached to him hard other than he was really devoted to Shigaraki, and we never knew why.
Right.
So this is more of the explanation of, well, no, it wasn't that he was devoted.
Right.
He was controlled, specifically programmed to be like that.
Right. There's elements of this and the way they were kind of explaining it that felt kind of like this is the reason that it all works, and it's not just coming out of thin air because it wasn't something that was foreshadowed previously.
Yeah, exactly.
And while, something from season 1, essentially, right, of both Aizawa being super strict with the students, but also Kurogiri's introduction, I don't expect there to be that level of, like, callback because
Aizawa was a tertiary character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's something that would have been nice, but the fact that we got what we got here,
character,
right? Yeah, what we got here is still really good, and I'm glad that we got something that was viscerally emotional, because the stuff with Endeavor and his family, that's something that we kind of knew needed to happen eventually, right? So it's like that's
why it was given an arc, essentially,
right? And
this was
that's
given
kind of an easier card to play, whereas this one is like we're about those emotional moments with the characters in general. It doesn't just have to be with the Todoroki family.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also something that they go through rather quickly because it's something that wasn't foreshadowed that well. But given that we get this scene where we get to see Aizawa having this full connection bit with not just the fact that, one, this is why he is the way he is with the students specifically. Makes perfect sense. It's a great, visceral, MHA-style backstory. The other side of it, though, is that he willingly delves deep into those emotions that he's probably, like, held back, and they're real. he tears himself up inside for the purpose of getting the mission done.
Right.
He is not believing that this is going to work. Like I don't think he really was like, oh, I'm seeing progress, like this is going to fully change something.
Right, but then they mention the whole thing of well, if this doesn't work, we'll get his parents, and he's like, hell no, there's no way.
That's what I think his motivation was. He was like, I am not going to make his family be subject to this.
Yep.
I'm going to stop everything right here. I'm going to sacrifice everything in my heart to make this happen.
Yep.
And he succeeded to the point where they're like, okay, we'll probably call you guys back again at some point. Take some time off. This is a good start for us. We'll analyze the data that we got.
Yep.
Which is cool, because then that means Kurogiri is not going to get some kind of oh, he's just going to die because something triggers in his programming because he's not loyal to Shigaraki or something. It's no, he shorts out, but he's still alive.
Yep.
He's still there.
It's something,
and they did something that was effective.
One of the reasons that I love this development is because it gives the teachers something to do in addition to the students, because the students, they have to learn and all that stuff, and then there's what Hawks is doing, which is like a different, separate, very unique thing, right?
Yeah, because it's more main plot focused.
It's more main plot focused.
It's not as personal.
Right, but Hawks is not the only adult in this world. We touched on Endeavor. Yeah, that's good stuff. That makes sense that would be what Endeavor is focusing on. Right. But let's get some progress and conflict for the rest of the adults, because they are absolutely going to be busy. They are not going to be sitting around,
we have All for One and Tartarus along now with Kurogiri, which is its own thing there.
Right, and having something like this where since Aizawa is kind of like the main teacher now, since All Might is a fantastic teacher and character, but he doesn't have his powers anymore, so Aizawa's kind of has that role now.
That's true. That's a good point. He is essentially now the dad for the students now.
Yep.
I mean, we always called him Uncle Aizawa, but now in some ways he's like
the uncle that has to take care of the kids because
there's no one else really left.
There's
Vlad,
died,
sure. But no, it's basically Aizawa. Aizawa we have this very emotional connection to.
Yep.
Not just because he's adorable and such a tsundere, but also he really cares about them. He
does.
Really does.
And the fact that way back at the beginning of the show, when Aizawa calls out Deku for using self-destructive applications of his quirk and everything, I love it, because the idea then that if he had expelled Deku, right, if Deku hadn't managed to actually figure out the whole the one finger thing, that he would have still enrolled him again afterwards and been like, okay, so you didn't manage to figure it out, I don't know, that does so much to me for me, because the strict teacher that they've never let anyone pass and
I'm
stuff.
Totally not Snape,
Right. I'm totally not Snape, and I'm going to be turned to like you in the same episode that I'm introduced. That can be it can feel
jarring.
It can be jarring when you go back and rewatch, and then you're like, this doesn't feel like the same Aizawa. But the fact that we have these explanations for why he does that, because students have died and he's not going to let that happen again, but that also he really does want the students to succeed. Yeah. Right? He would be willing to give you that second shot.
He doesn't want to abandon them. He would rather they stay with them in the long run, but just being given the
hard
real
slap
world,
on the wrist of
the real world slap in the face almost.
Sure.
If they compare death and getting expelled in the same breath. It's kind of a joke, I thought, specifically regarding Harry Potter. It was like, you're going to find another weird way to get us killed, or worse, expelled. And it's just like, no, don't compare those two.
Funny joke, but in all seriousness, these kids are, going to basically be soldiers almost, so.
Or at the very least, they're going to get put into situations where they could die.
Right.
And you're going to wish you could get expelled rather than being put under the threat of death.
Your parents are certainly going to wish that. That's something that I love. I love that they brought up the parents, not just because it's something to give Aizawa that extra bit of motivation, but considering that this character, they basically pulled out of it, from the viewer's standpoint, a vacuum, of all right, here's this character now, we want you to feel for them, right?
Yeah.
That can be kind of hard to do because they didn't exist in our minds before, right? Here they are.
I had Kurogiri fanfic material of how he was actually a teleporting world photographer, and he would go around and be like, yes, go around.
Yeah,
this is a nice place. And now I can teleport back here.
When Dabi and Toga were introduced, there was a part of me that felt kind of bad for Kurogiri because it felt like he was sort of the villain that got shafted because there was the Nomu that was introduced with Shigaraki and Kurogiri. Shigaraki obviously has big potential. The Nomu was there for that awesome fight with All Might, but then it's done, right? And then Kurogiri, cool design, but, you know, like...
And also unique, maybe, demeanor and personality that we didn't really fully get at the time.
Doesn't seem to fit with what you would traditionally expect for villains, you know?
And then that care for Shigaraki.
Right, but doesn't necessarily have that same, like, angsty teenage, you know, like, edge to them that makes it so that they make for probably a more marketable shonen villain, you know? And it's like, oh, okay, that's too bad. You know, okay, he got locked up. I guess that makes sense. Plot-wise, he's a bit of a problem.
He is a very serious problem. The heroes would target him. Since All for One is gone, he's
the biggest issue, right?
They can now deal with him next.
Yeah. But then it's like, oh, wait, no. Character stuff. Okay. And it's not resolved in this episode. Like, you know, potential ongoing conflict and stuff. How will this play into the Meta Liberation Army's whole thing?
Yeah.
You know, like
and the fact that he's an actual, like, unwilling passenger giving us a new perspective into the Nomus, which apparently, we were right, are the big plot line now. Because Shigaraki is being fully made into the apotheosis of a Nomu. He is having a Nomu apotheosis moment where he is being like all the experiments, all the science, everything is being crystallized into a specific vessel that is him essentially getting prepped to be the next All for One.
Right, and they're probably just really lucky that All for One is locked away, because if he ever gets, like, busted out, probably the thing that he will do is that the doctor, who apparently is the same doctor that, you know, from Izuku, Deku's, you know, childhood and all that stuff, which makes things potentially complicated with him saying he'll never get a quirk. Maybe his father's flame quirk was actually latent the whole time, and it was, I don't know. But if the All for One ever gets out, Shigaraki will probably at that point be like a fully prepped vessel by the doctor, you know, that's like more powerful and everything, but also able to contain whatever All for One wants to give him, and then that transfer can be complete and all that stuff, and then, you know, Shigaraki will be like the perfect then villain for Deku to face against and hopefully save.
Yes, absolutely. I just realized why the doctor is like on All for One's side.
Oh yeah?
Is because he's the kind of person that, it's so gross, but he's the person that inspects new quirks.
Oh god.
Yeah. He's literally the person giving back to All for One probably a database
he's the produce manager, basically.
Here's some kids that look really promising. And it's like, oh shit, that's disgusting.
And as a result of that, they probably had a list of, like, with Kurogiri's case, it's, okay, they're doing well. Oh, they're at UA. Oh, they're doing quite well. Oh, they're doing a work study. Where? Here. Cool. Okay.
We'll attack now.
Yeah. Arrange for a little accident. Oh, no, it's terrible. Things happen sometimes. Quirks get janky when they're being used.
And if there's heroes that have been basically on the side of the Meta Liberation Army, or
sure,
just
they
some kind of shady underground side of things.
All for One, you know, was around for 200 years. Like, so he could have, like, agents everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like the long-form plot spilling over into this idea that Hero Society will need to be completely flipped on its head.
Yeah.
Because there's just too much that is corrupt, or at the very least has just been contaminated with weeds of really, really... really old planning and stuff from All for One. Like, All for One being in prison does not matter at all to him.
No.
It's such a cool thing.
It's like, a minor inconvenience.
It's just one of my favorite things in superhero stories, with like Arkham Asylum and the DC thing.
And Daredevil Season 3.
Daredevil Season 3, yep.
Yeah, Kingpin, that was so good.
I love when the villain is in prison and he goes, I don't care. This is all working out just fine.
Yep.
I can be even more influential in here because you can't touch me now.
Right. You already have me.
You're protecting me.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect.
It's so good.
Like,
But, oh my god, so Shigaraki...
He's getting seriously
juiced. But not only that, the bit where it was like there was an incident comparable to Hosu City, you know, and Shigaraki was there.
Oh, that was him testing it out, yeah.
That could have been him testing it out,
Taking the wheels for a new spin.
Oh my god.
Why has he not been present at all the Meta Liberation Army, like, meetings and stuff? Because he's getting work done. You know, like, which then adds a whole new angle on the whole thing of, like, doesn't look like Deku and, you know, Shoto and Bakugo have been progressing that much. Okay, this is great. Yeah. because they're comparing their progress to Shigaraki's progress. And yeah, cool. You're linearly scaling. That's God. Cute, you know.
You know what's actually crazy?
What?
Shigaraki is going to be the villain that literally topples everything. But that's going to be from the ashes that he creates will be the new thing that oh my God.
So in a lot of ways
this makes perfect sense. I feel like I can tell now the way they're simplifying the story down to like a war. Because I don't like personally, I don't like superhero supervillain wars. They're dumb. They're usually very very basic, and oftentimes in comics and stuff, some great like alien threat shows up to just end the war and trivialize it, and they all go, "Oh, I guess we have to beat that." And then they're like, afterwards, like
started trivially and ended trivially a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Whereas but
in this, it might be that the villains win. And it's not that they win; it's that they break everything. That's what the OP is,
right? And the
society's broken, devastated, and then they,
exactly.
Yeah.
And like this, the war feels like it'll be something that will simplify things rather than make things way too chaotic, because I feel like that's also what the vibe that I usually get when like stories go into like war stuff just for the sake of it is then it's like, okay, well, there's too many moving pieces, it's just this one big,
well, in the literal sense, they can just start killing people.
Well, sure, that too, but then it can kind of again feel like a shitstorm that's chaos for the sake of chaos rather than like no, we are going to level things a bit.
Right, actually.
Literally and figuratively.
And then you've got characters like Endeavor who are getting death flags all up the wazoo.
Oh, sure. And when everything's leveled, everyone will be able to see Endeavor shining brightly. And
or
then
maybe his last moments.
Yeah.
And he will be the phoenix that scatters his ashes. Oh my God. I feel like Shigaraki's power-up is like the hope of the future in like a weird way, because he's gonna just like I can't wait to figure out from Shigaraki's perspective what his philosophy will be, because that was the big portion of season like 2 and 3 was that his philosophy was honing and figuring out who he was. And instead of just being the destroyer, like the harbinger of the end or whatever, that's Endeavor. Remember the glass, prophet thing. But no, he can be the one that reboots things, and then Deku's whole class and all of his friends and stuff will be the ones that rebuild, Sure. I'm excited. I'm really excited.
This, because it's weird, because this episode doesn't seem on paper like it has anything to do with the Meta Liberation Army, right?
The Meta Liberation Army aren't ever really like a big deal, other than we saw Hawks was near a whiteboard where it was like, things to know, the Meta Liberation Army, and then Twice is there, and
he gets a call and he's like, whatever, they wanted me to do some job or something.
I can't
believe
that was
a great cover.
I can't believe also in any way, shape, or manner. No, wait, they have devices all over Hawks. Never mind. I was gonna say they really have Twice watching Hawks. That's like the worst. That's the worst person.
Terrible idea.
I love Twice so much.
You deserve to have Hawks, pulling over on you if you do that.
Yes, but I think that's more of the thing, is that it's the no, we're so casual. Oh yeah, Hawks, you're here. Yeah, you're part of us. Yeah,
man, yeah.
You're our guy on the inside. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just reading,
Right, yeah. And I just love how casual it is, because it's the thing of Twice is literally there just reading, just chilling. And then Hawks is like, "Hey, what do you want?" He's like, "Black coffee with milk and sugar." And it's just like, yes, this comedy.
And what I love about it is that as soon as Hawks is out of the building, he's probably like getting the coffee with his wings or something like that. But then, if he does need to like go somewhere, which granted he has a bunch of observation devices over him, so that might get complicated. But I'm still not sure how that works with things. But he can get the coffee for Twice and also do the thing that he needs to do, and it probably won't take him any more time.
Yeah. But then they said there's a thug raging around at Wakagumo Hospital. We request help.
Yeah. So that's probably just code for the thing that we found out about,
Well, okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
Because it seemed like he knew they were going to be
right, but Kurogiri said hospital.
Right.
So that doesn't make sense that Kurogiri would say that, though, and then it would be used directly as code?
maybe
there might be some code attached to it.
They might have some like formula for like, okay, if we need to pass along information regarding a specific event, we're going to phrase it in such a way so that you can know what the keyword is. And and if he knew that they were trying to interrogate Kurogiri and why they were interrogating him, what they were hoping to glean, then I would say it's fairly safe to assume that they would be able to pass along the notion of hospital, but also if they were able to use hospital as a way to figure out potentially what hospital, then that might have also been something that they passed along.
Right. What it might be is that the hospital or Wakagumo Hospital or what have you is not actually the thing. That could be literally where Shigaraki is getting experimented on right now. Because that was the question. They're like, where's Shigaraki right now? Why are the Nomus being made? All that stuff.
Oh, sure.
And then he goes, that leaves ... Right. And it cuts to Shigaraki, which was literally what Hawks has been here is he's been trying to meet Shigaraki.
Yeah, because the Hawks and all his crew probably have all sorts of information that they don't necessarily know what it all means, right? But they've got a ton of pieces at some like Central Intelligence Agency kind of equivalent, for this specific mission. And then they get the idea of hospital and they're like, ooh, that lines up with these things. We have a pretty clear picture now. It brought order to this mishmash of ideas, or information, and then they pass it along.
And this would be a hospital would be the best place to do biological experimentations on Shigaraki because you have all the equipment and everything.
Yep, you just have like a basement level or something like that. No one knows about.
And maybe there is literally a hospital that is already a part of the Meta Liberation Army's like bases, and he just knows about it, and they're like, oh. That's
that hospital that you know about.
You have to go there. That's it.
Sure. And then the question is given that Hawks has this information,
what is his mission?
What's he going to do with it? Because he doesn't want to blow his cover by going there.
What if that's it? What if he's like, this is where I blow my cover?
Sure.
Like I have to assassinate Shigaraki.
Well, or even if he doesn't assassinate Shigaraki, I'm going to completely make it so that they can't produce more Nomus. I'm my cover.
Fuck it all.
I'm going to
the
seize the means of production, destroy the supply lines, and then win the war, right?
I don't think they would put it all in one place, but I think that they could definitely set them back. And then it's the thing of where, okay, now Hawks, you go into deep, like witness protection essentially. Yeah. And you just
take your family and everybody and they just disappear. And then, good job.
Good job.
Here's your paycheck.
You get paid, 50 years salary.
Right.
Well done. Good work, soldier. We'll call on you in another 5 years,
Right, exactly. Or
that would be so badass.
or when we go to war, then we can have you at the front lines or whatever.
This is actually a thing that I've been worried about, is that Hawks is a character that I've definitely felt like was kind of the guy from season 4. All Might's assistant.
Oh, Night Eye.
Night Eye.
Yeah.
He feels like the Night Eye of this arc.
He's the new character that's the perspective into the new conflict that probably or potentially
is
could
going
tragically
to die.
Yeah.
And what would be a better way for him to tragically die, for them to meet the new empowered Shigaraki and die as the first christening of the blood of heroes upon this new demigods,
And that would actually be a really good way to demonstrate Shigaraki's new abilities, because quite frankly, Hawks hard counters Shigaraki. Because
he keeps everything at
just
range.
The notion, Shigaraki, you managed to grab one of his feathers. Great. The whole thing, the whole upgrade that Shigaraki has is you have to separate the parts, otherwise it'll consume the whole thing. Yeah. Cool. He lost the feather. It'll grow back. He can attack you from way far away.
And we also remember there are boosters. There are boosters. So this is all converging towards a point. I'm telling you.
That could be pretty crazy.
I'm telling you, the demon lord is arisen. The ritual is almost finished. He's coming.
Oh boy.
I'm just ready. Yeah.
Also, I've seen experimentation, in stories and stuff where it's sci-fi, this is gonna be crazy. I'm kind of numb to it now, for the most part. If I see it, it's oh, okay, cool, whatever. That actually looks dope as shit.
That looks really good.
And terrifying and oh god.
His hair was a different color.
Yeah, that was some Matrix cables going into the spine and all that stuff and
stomach.
Oh yeah, so this seems super hardcore, and which then makes me think, oh
which
god.
Which means we know it has to work.
Right, and we've seen results of it working in the past, but the fact that this is what they've been doing and they're continuing to do this, Yeah, Shigaraki's going to be pretty nutty.
Yeah. And, okay. Okay. We still have 5 or 6 episodes left in this season.
Yep.
I tremble to think at what they're going to do in that many episodes.
Like, I'm really glad, I'm really glad that this is what we're getting towards the end of the season, rather than, like, you know, some of the other more slower paced episodes and stuff, because... Yeah, this is good shit.
That was good stuff. So, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the full-length timer version of the reaction, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early, any level support there gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.